Gerber. You are watching Creative Herts, and I've got an extra special treat for you today. One of our guests didn't arrive for filming this afternoon, so I have pulled from our production desk our very own producer, director, and the mastermind behind Creative Herts. Clifford White, welcome to the studio, or rather welcome to the chair. You've been at the studio the whole week. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
It is wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you.
And I know that you have got a whole host of experience in the creative world. You're a musician, you are a producer, you are a teacher and trainer, you have a training business, you're a web designer and creator of that as well. And I know that underlying everything is the musician in you. But I suppose you are the eternal creative, if you will.
Very kind of you to say so.
My pleasure. What I'd like to know from you as we kick off into the rest of this interview, because it's really amazing. I've really coaxed you, haven't I, into the chair today. You were running out the door and I grabbed you back. But I think our viewers will want to hear from you directly, and I think this is going to probably be one of our best interviews into and as we explore the creative mind. So can you give me some insight into that, please?
Into what, the creative mind?
Creative mind, yeah. For your creative mind. I suppose everyone's is slightly different, but you have quite a journey. You've been through quite a journey, haven't you?
It's quite a journey. I suppose I would say that I suffer from something. I've made the joke on occasion, although it's not much of a joke, but I've said I suffer from CCD, which is compulsive creative disorder. And it's just, you know, the mind is always going, the ideas are always there. Every morning there's a whole flurry of different ideas, and I suppose part of the journey is to discover which ideas are really worth pursuing and which ideas are better not to pursue. When I was younger, obviously every idea was a great idea and it was just, you know, going to be awesome. Everything was going to be awesome. But, you know, over time, through experience, you learn maybe that idea isn't such a great idea. And also, I think what's happened over the years is that, I suppose age, is that I can now sort of do more scenarios in my mind than I could when I was younger. So when I was younger, it was sort of like anything was possible, which I still believe, anything is possible. But you don't have those sorts of objections that normally come up when you're thinking about a route towards something.
You don't also have the restrictions, in a sense, the perceived restrictions.
Yes.
You don't have family, you don't have as many responsibilities.
Yes,
Financially,
absolutely.
you can just
absolutely. You can do what you
live
like.
on baked beans.
Well, that's in fact what I did for 10 years when I was doing music full time. Baked beans was pretty much a staple part of my diet.
And you could. You can't give your kids baked beans every day of the week now.
No. But
maybe you
well,
do.
Maybe
I don't know.
You know,
maybe you do.
Save on costs. But no, I mean, yeah, I did live the typical artist's life where it was just about the craft. It was just about the art. And I didn't socialise really. There were no distractions. I had my studio because at that stage I lived in Cannons Park in Edgware, and I had a studio, and I just spent all my time in the studio. It was just all about the art. It was all about the music. I'd be up all night. Sometimes I recall doing one album. I was up for sort of 2 nights straight, so 3 days.
No sleep at all.
2 nights,
36 hours. 48
well,
hours?
my maths is
is
not one of my strong points. And ask me anything else, but let's not do any maths.
Okay. I think two nights will be sufficient.
Yeah, 2 nights, 3 days working on a single album because I was just so.
Gosh.
That was probably the one time where inspiration really did take hold. And that's another strange thing, really, is this whole thing about inspiration and so on. Obviously, you know, we can talk about that as time goes on. But this whole idea of sort of somehow it coming in from outside, which is often how inspiration feels. It feels like, where's that come from? You know, where's that idea come from? It's like out of the blue. And then also the energy supplied as a result. It's not just the idea, but it's the kind of the propulsion that the idea supplies you with. It's like a kind of a fuel, and you can burn through it. The thing is, I've also in my life suffered from the resultant burnout. So, you know, you have the fuel and you
get
really
that energy that drives you
huge,
forward and drives the idea forward, and it allows you to stay awake for 3 days.
3 days.
No sleep.
No sleep. And you feel great.
And then
at the
you're
time.
on this buzz, aren't you?
Yeah, total buzz. And you feel great. Then there's the crash. And the crash is where the danger, it's like it's like the balance between the creativity and then the not being creative period is the crash. And you can crash really badly. You know, you can suddenly go from, you know, feeling like all this inspiration and all these ideas and everything's going to be fantastic and it's all going to work out great, and then it's over and it's just like, ugh. You know, you're physically spent. There's no energy left, and that's when negative thoughts can start to work their way. Oh, nobody's going to like it. I don't even really like it anymore. And often
I know you've got recorded what, 13 albums?
Something like that, yeah.
13 albums,
13
and I've
albums.
listened to quite a number of them, and I love it because you hand me the CD and go, I don't like this one, and I like that song, but I don't. And you're thinking you spent hours. I mean, one of your tracks that I've listened to recently, some of the tracks on the album are, one of them is 15 minutes.
Sure. Well, that particular one I gave you, that Nature's Symphony, was that 3-day experience. So that was written.
Was it?
That entire album, that's about an hour's worth of music, was written in 3 days. And that was bizarre as well. I was just like in my studio, it was a normal day, or evening in fact, and I was listening to choral music. I was listening to vocal choral music, and a mood began. And there's another sort of bizarre experience. It's like there are certain places in the world it's almost like a sacred space. It's almost like a sort of a special place that you go into. Studios are like that. I mean, this
feels exactly like that. I walked in here the first time, didn't I? And I went, ooh.
It's got that feeling to it, and you sort of, what's all this? Because it's not visible. The strange sensation is not a visible thing. It's just a room with some, you know, props and lights and so on. But there's something about an atmosphere. And a recording studio is very much like that. A recording studio has that same sort of feeling about it. And that was what it was like that evening. It was like a strange mood settled. I was listening to the choral music, and suddenly I sort of, I just feel like I start off with the piano, and I sat down at the piano. And it was just like, it was like flame. It was like, they talk about this kundalini thing where people burn up.
This internal energy.
This energy that
builds
comes
up
out of you.
inside
And it
of
was
you,
like, oh my God. And I was writing, and it was 2, 3 o'clock. And I'm thinking, I've really got to go to bed, you know. No, just keep going.
So when you write, what do you mean? Actually writing notes?
No,
just recording?
No, I don't do the notes, don't do the dots on the things. Just sitting there playing into a computer, you know, into a sequencer thingy computer in those days. So this was 1993, I think it was. 1992, 93, something like that. And I just, you know, wrote this tune, then wrote the next bit, and then wrote the next bit, and it was like getting on a horse. You know, it's like, and the next bit, and the next bit, and the next bit, and the days just rolled by. I wrote this hour's worth of music. However, it's funny because they talk about it's 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. I mean, in the case of that particular album, it's probably not fair to say that. It's probably sort of 75% inspiration. But the truth was that although the crux of that album was written in 3 days, it took 2 years to take all those tunes and all those rhythms and all the ideas and flesh it out into a complete album.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I remember listening. I have to be fair. I've listened to all the 4. There were only 4 tracks on that movements. Is it on that album?
Yep.
And I listened quite a long way into each of them, but I couldn't listen to the whole lot because of the nature of when I was listening to them on the way to places. And I was also listening to it with a purpose in mind. And can I say a thank you live on camera that I've taken a lovely little sequence from the last track on the album called Inspiration.
Yes, you have my permission.
And I've got your permission, and I've used it in my audio program, and I'm excited because I think it gives it that final rounded energy, and it's got a bit of your inspirational.
Well, that track's called Inspiration.
I know, it's beautiful. But what I was trying to get at is that the highs and the lows of the music and the symphony and the melodies and where you take it all is phenomenal. And I know that for a musician, like with any craft or art, you're kind of, your heart and soul's in it and you're moving with it. So the emotions that you must have been going through to create that must have been quite intense, because they're all beautiful but very high energy and they're kind of highs and lows and sways.
It's bizarre. I listened, we had a journey, I think day before yesterday or something, and I listened to it and there, you know, again, it brings me back to this strange thing about music, or about the sort of music that I'm involved with doing, which is instrumental music or music for relaxation. Or none of these phrases actually really sum up what the music is. In fact, there isn't really a phrase that sums up what this kind of music is. I mean, the nearest thing is sort of like imagination or music from mind, but there's more to it than that. And I listen to it, and there's certain sequences that remind me of places and times that I either have never been to. It's like that. it's a strange. It's like I listen to a piece or a section of it, and I think, oh, this reminds me of. Hang on a minute, I've never been this place that it reminds me of, but
It takes you there.
takes me there, and maybe it's a kind of medieval time, or it's a place in another country that I haven't been to, or it's just the strange power of music, and what constantly kind of brings me back to the thought that a lot of this inspiration comes in from somewhere else, because when I listen to it, it's like I forget who did it. It's like, who did this? Is this me who did this? But this doesn't sound like me. This is not my experience that this music's denoting. I've never been to this place. I've never felt this way, or if I have felt this way, it's kind of like been a subconscious feeling or something. So it's bizarre.
That's your inspiration, isn't it? That's
inspiration,
this higher that comes in. They talk about
believe
inspiration
that.
as being
I do believe
channeled in a
yes,
way, don't they?
I do. I believe that. I think
that explains that process that you're talking about.
I think we're all aerials. I think that got a lot. I think that's. I read a lot of the stuff, the weird stuff, and I think we're all aerials picking up things.
And I think when you crash, I suppose when and the burnout is that it's almost like if you imagine you're in aerial and you're
yes.
What's the word? You're attracting or drawing down all of this electricity and this energy that comes with inspiration.
Yeah.
And then if you do not filter it and you do not have the balance or the restriction, and you don't pace yourself and manage that flow of energy, which can happen, which seems to have happened to you from what you're saying, you explode. It's like a short circuit, and then you crash. So I guess for any creatives watching this who can share in that journey, and I think we've all been there, no matter what, whether it's painting, when you paint through the night, whether it's recording, whether it's writing, music, is to, and it's hard because you don't want to slam on the brakes, but to be aware what's coming afterwards and to realise and to kind of
it's very difficult,
manage
isn't it? I think I mean, it's almost like when the aerials open, it's great. It's the greatest feeling in the world. It's like the door is open and something's coming through and there's all this power and all this energy. And I suppose when the aerial shuts down, which it invariably has to do to sleep,
you have to recharge.
But then what happens is you become aware of the difference between how you were before, when the area was open and you felt kind of a sense of enlivenment and a sense of energy, and the person you are now, which has become the smallest person now. You're back to just being a little person again. That's where the kind of the mental problem happens, because it's like, oh, I'm just back to being ordinary little old me, and you kind of lose this whole sense of where you were. Or the nearest way I liken it, say you've had a fantastic holiday. So you've been on a holiday, you've had the swimming in the sea, and it's all been amazing, and then you come to our lovely rainy country, and it's like, it's all grey, and you think, was that a dream that I was on holiday? Was that all a dream? And that's, again, it's how do you reconcile these very, very different ways of life or different modes of thinking? It's difficult. It's very, very difficult.
Well, it's the highs and lows, and it's hard to find that balance. And I'm all the work that I do when I coach people in the Smile system that I've created is all about balance. In everything that I do, I talk about it because we've been there. We've been in that very high space where you're ecstatic and you're flowing and the ideas are going and everything's working, and then you've had those days where nothing goes to plan. You wake up, you feel flat and drained, and life just gets too difficult, and you've got that difference.
That's the problem with it, is that you have to deal with these two extremes.
But it's about, I think, maintaining a balance when you're in that high space to keep your feet on the ground, and when you're in the low space to be aware that there is the high space.
Well, it's easier said than done. I mean, so many people kind of walk a middle path. For various reasons, be it financial reasons or that they're not particularly motivated creatively, or maybe they are but they haven't had an opportunity to pursue it, because creativity begets creativity. You know, once you start on a road,
it's like a bug, isn't it? You can't stop.
And once you've seen the results of something you've created, it's like, oh, did I do that? And then you want to do more. So it begets itself. But many people hold back from that first step. And in a way, I suspect subconsciously they're aware of what door they're opening. I think many people they hold back from that first step, not just because of fear. It's easy to say, oh, we're scared of it, or there's financial reasons why we don't do it. But I think people hold back on that first step because in a way they know that what they're getting themselves into. And they think, well, you know, this is a path which it can consume me. And yet other people pursue the creativity and allow themselves to become completely consumed by it. and therein lies an interesting life, but potentially a self-destructive life, because as you know, obviously with Robin Williams and many creative people through the years.
You've had your
I've had
your
my downs.
low
I've
points.
certainly had downs. I've really struggled with, what's the point of it all, and why do we do these things? Why do we create these things if nobody pays attention? For instance, an artist needs. I know it's a terrible egocentric thing to say, but an artist needs a certain degree of
validation.
Yeah, validation, or I'm actually going to say admiration.
Okay.
Worship.
Well, that as well.
Actually.
No. Well, now your true colours are going up.
No, but
Clifford.
it's quite all right. You may bow later. But no, I mean, because, maybe it's not fair to sort of say that it's all an ego-based thing. I think that the truth is that when you create something beautiful, you want to share its beauty with other people. And so therein, again, is another issue, which is you share it with people. Some people don't get the beauty. And it hurts. It hurts because it's like, well, are they right? Often things hurt as well because it brings doubt into the equation. And then someone says, oh, actually, I don't think it's very good.
You start to doubt yourself,
Start to doubt yourself, start to doubt the validity of what you've created and all that sort of stuff.
There are other creatives, though, who don't ever share their work because they are too scared of the rejection or that people won't see the beauty.
Or they work on it for years and years and years and years
and never
ever see the light of day.
show it. Because then I suppose the other element is we stop, when you stop doing it for the sheer joy and pleasure of it, and you start to do it in order to make money from it, or it becomes a business endeavour,
that's the thing
that
again,
changes everything as well.
Yes, it does.
But when it consumes you like it did in that way, you need to have that kind of...
It's an eternal thing. I mean,
cycle.
I'm reaching the 50 number, not just yet, but soon. Mm-hmm. And I think only in the last year or 2 years have I sort of started to get to grips with this sort of seesaw thing going on.
And it is. I think it's I look at it scales, and it's, again, if the central column or central way is about balance, and then all you're doing is you're kind of balancing.
Yeah.
Kind of almost reality and every day, and then the
creative. But it's finding the things that bring that balance as well, because again, our society is not really set up to cater for these people who suffer from whatever suffer. It's not suffer, but this sort of creativity or compulsive creativity. Because obviously, when you're creative, most people who are moderately creative, they can manage it. They can manage it. But when you're like obsessively creative, then it becomes harder to manage, and society doesn't really have any answers as such. So yes, balance is obviously, you're right, it's very important. But balance is also very specific. It's what specifically to a person balances them. Like for me, and again, this has only happened in the last few years, balance for me is a swim in a swimming pool with the sunshine. I mean, that I get into a swimming pool in the sunshine, and it's like everything goes.
Is that balance or is that time out though? Because balance is everyday
balance. But that's the same thing. As far as I'm concerned, that's the same thing. Time out, balance is the same thing. Because otherwise, I'm like go.
Immigration is on the cards because the sun is shining and all is good here. But let's be honest.
Well,
it's
today,
not, we're September in the UK. It's gonna.
And even when the weather's good here, what do? You want to go for a swim, you've got to spend 50 quid to go for a swim or something, or you've got to swim at 1,000.
Where are you swimming? Oh my God! Can you take me? My word!
Well, no, but good.
I swim.
I mean, in the Mediterranean, there's a pool within 10 yards of any location. I mean, that's just awesome. And I think that's a lot of where the inspiration for the music comes from as well. A lot of the music has this sort of Mediterranean feel to it, and I think part of me has always been aspiring. It's always been pulled towards this sort of environment, rather than the UK.
I was going to say, the story that's running around in my head, or the sentence, is that we are creatives who don't create the life that we need to in order to sustain the creativity and the balance and all of the rest of it.
Again, it's there's only so many hours in the day. I mean, it was great when I was just in my studio. It was just me. There's no distractions. I could focus all my energy into the creativity. And even that was, 10 years. For 10 years, I just literally focused all my effort into the creativity, because you need to dedicate that much time. I said that much time. You need to dedicate time to really hit the spot. Do you know what I mean? It's like, there's this other thing as well, which I found, is that if you work on something for a few hours, you kind of go so far down into it. And then if you work on it for a few more hours, you go even more down into it. And then somehow, at some point, I don't know exactly when it is, I don't know, 5, 6 hours. It could be in a minute, or it could be 2 days from there. You hit it. You hit your stride. And it's like, yeah, and you just go with it, you know. And often we are not afforded those opportunities. That's really the problem, you know, families and bills to pay and mortgages and places to be and people to see and meetings and all of that. It compartmentalises our life much more down into small bits, and there's less of an opportunity to really hit that spot.
Well, I've met quite a lot of creatives in the last kind of year or so as I've done my own creative projects and endeavours, and I've met authors and seminar leaders and experts in various fields at seminars and workshops that I've been to. And in all of the different ones I've been to, the different workshops, they talk about blocking time. In other words, if you know that you need your 6 hours of blocked time, or you need a 2-week period to shut out the world so that you can really immerse yourself into it, I guess that is a good way to look at it. When you block out time and include blocked out time for the things that inspire you, for your creative times, then at least you know every month that you've got blocked out time that you can dip back into that space.
In theory, that's right. In practice, when that blocked out time finally arrives, you are so terrified because you've built up to your blocked out time. Yes, I'm going to have the time to do it. I'm going to have the time to do it. And then all of a sudden, oh my God. And I have had, more often than not, total, utter writer's block.
But just to quote what you said a few minutes ago, a little bit of time, you go in a bit, a little bit more time. So if you allow yourself enough time, eventually that those doubts and that writer's block will pass.
It does pass, but
it's about enough time, because you probably haven't given yourself enough time. Then you sit there.
And the problem with albums is that a decent album, I've never been able to produce and mix and complete an album in less than about a year.
Okay.
I managed to do 2 albums in a year. I've done that twice, once in '94 and once in 2009. I managed to do 2 albums. But even doing 2 albums, it still took a year. In other words, the album wants to take a year. You know, it says, all right, I'll share the year with a few other buddies if you want to do another album, but I'm still going to take a year, whether you want to or not. Which is bizarre, because you think, well, why is that? Why didn't it take half the time? It's because, as well, it's this whole feedback loop thing with your own creativity. You've got to listen to it, and then you've got to stop listening to it. Because if you listen to it again and again, it's like, you can't hear it anymore. What is it I'm listening to? I don't even know what it is.
So resonate with what you're saying, because how many times have I come knocking on the door going, this is taking too long. This was meant to be done in 3 months. I'm now on 9 months. And you keep saying to me,
it takes as long as it takes.
It takes as long as it takes.
Because it's the seed, the planting of the seed, and the growing and the watering.
But just to clear the record, I'm not recording an album. I don't hear music at all.
No, but you're doing equally as tricky, which is this whole sort
recording something. It takes longer than you create.
Actually, in some ways, what you're doing is harder, because you are using your own voice, and you are having to speak with certain intonation, and you're recording yourself. And a lot of what I do is electronic. So in other words, I perform, but it goes into a computer. Which in a way is a downside.
But it isn't, because when I listen to your music, you just think, and as I'm listening to it, oh, it would be nice if it went here, and then you take it there. And I'm almost intuitively listening.
Good. A lot of people don't necessarily feel that way, funny enough. Some people say, oh, I wanted to go this way and it didn't go that way. Like, well,
no, but for me, at certain times, when I'm listening to it and I'm thinking, oh, I want that to go again. And you don't do it immediately, but it all inevitably comes.
There's another point, actually, with the kind of music that I do, which a lot of people that do this sort of music, and I say a lot of people, that actually it's a bit of a dying breed. There aren't that many people doing the music that I do now, because everybody seems to be chasing this sort of what the modern music is. You know?
The most well-known person that did music that I would put in similar thing, you might kill me for this, Jean-Michel Jarre.
Jean-Michel Jarre is
the
no, I wouldn't kill you at all.
Grew up.
Jean-Michel Jarre, Mike Oldfield, Vangelis. Those 3 people are, I suppose, you would call them the grandfathers of the genre.
So that's your.
Yeah, Mike Oldfield, certainly. And in fact, what was bizarre about Mike Oldfield was that when I first heard Tubular Bells, something just went click, as for many people in the same genre as we did. But it wasn't until probably 20 years later, when I read his autobiography, because he hadn't written one, obviously, then in the 70s. 20 years later, when I read his autobiography, I was astounded to hear that he was stressed out, miserable, really in a bad place. He was really in a bad place, and because he was in such a bad place, he said he wrote the music as a self-healing thing. So he wrote the music to create the environment that he could then go into. It was like a safe space to go into.
So many creatives have that journey that
Yeah.
they have to go through.
They
And
have to
that's
go-
why,
yeah.
I mean, Creative Herts is pretty much about that. That's what inspired us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
About that journey, because so many people that we meet
Yeah.
have that
They go into that space.
space. And actually, that's where some of the best work,
Yes.
some of the best work
It
comes
is,
from
but
that
it's a
space.
painful place to be. And I mean, when I did my first album, I was very, very, very unhappy. And you know, people have written. It's called Ascension. It was done in I wrote it in 1984, so came out in 1985, whatever, and sold really well, sold around the world. And a lot of people have written and said, you know, it's really helped me deal with problems, or deal with issues, or deal with depression, or deal with. Actually, I've had people write to me saying people have listened to it in their later years, their final years, and all this sort of stuff. It's like, oh my God, you know, amazing.
How powerful is that?
I got a letter from a nun in the
about a bit
Philippines who
of-
wrote to me saying, you know, your music puts me in touch with God or something. I was like, what? Really? Well, I mean, that's what it was intended. I mean, I was very you know, I still am, but I was very, again, because of what we were speaking about, having the time, I could really go in the zone, you know, I could really sort of get in touch with the zone. But I was very unhappy, you know, I was really, really unhappy. And the music didn't help me. Well, I say the music didn't help me. I suppose it helped me by expressing the sadness through the music. So in other words, it was an outlet. It wasn't. It didn't come back and to heal. Whereas for other people who listen to it, they don't feel the pain. They feel it's weird. I can't even fully explain why.
But it's the circuitry, if you think about it, because actually
you mean the circularity?
No, circuit.
Oh, the circuitry.
Or circularity, or circuitry. I don't know. For me, it's you've confused me.
Sorry.
Circuitry of or the content, the cycle,
Oh yeah.
if you will, of actually. Although we don't realise it, the best healing comes from sharing. And you were creating this outlet for you, but it was an act of sharing, because all that you were pouring into it, if in your mindset and your intention was to help people not suffer the way you were suffering, it's created this perfect circuitry.
But it's also this thing about other dimensions of existence. I mean, I don't want to get too esoteric with you, but then that's very
Another
much where the
show.
music.
Topic for another show.
But you know, it's when I was also doing the music, it was like let's go again, like the Tubular Bells sort of thing. Let's go somewhere beautiful. Let's go somewhere wonderful. And with this music, with this sort of beautiful sounds, so you can take a journey into a beautiful place. And then as you get nearer that place, as you work on it more and more, you feel like you're kind of going somewhere. It's a strange sort of transportation. It's like moving while standing still. And other people obviously get that from the music as well. It transports them.
I was going to say that's what I get when I listen to it. I can almost see a film playing out in my
Yeah.
mind. It's
Yeah,
such.
it
I mean,
is
your music
filmic.
should be the backdrop to a lot of the films.
Well,
in a
that's
way,
very
from
kind
what
of you to say.
that's what I get from it.
The interesting thing, I've looked at film music because for a while I sort of thought, yeah, you know, that I would be really well placed to do film music. The thing about film music is that it's very specific. So in other words, you're approached by a director who has a specific movie and they want you to do it in a specific way, and you have to do it to certain times, and then they change the times and the cuts change, and it's very, very, very stressful. The people I've spoken to in the industry find it a very stressful thing to do.
But there are libraries.
Music libraries,
where
again, yeah,
where
that's
directors
closer
can
to.
go and
yeah,
find music libraries.
that's
so
closer
that's
to
something.
it. Yeah, music libraries is something. I mean, but you know me, I'm like, well, go off in
I mean,
this
to be
direction.
fair, I took you were amazing, because I was in love with the name Inspirations of that album, Nature's Symphony. I loved the name because one of the things in my program is all about inspiration, and it's one of my drivers. That inspirational energy that we've been talking about. And what amazed me is that although you said you immersed yourself and your work comes out, and it's almost not you in a way.
Yeah.
You pinpointed. You said to me, "I think you should listen to about half a minute in. I think you might find what you're looking for on that particular
Yeah, I
track."
don't know why I said that. It's
And
bizarre.
not even a word of a lie.
Yeah.
That is exactly where I found my bit,
bizarre.
give or take a few millistuck
I
seconds.
remember you saying.
And then what I did is, because I needed different lengths for my intro, because it needs to kind of fade into part of what I'm saying for it not to sound a bit I don't want it to be the whole way through because it detracts from what's being said.
It's too much anyway. That's a bit
An
full
hour.
on. That album's a full on album. I can't always listen to it. It's like new age music on speed or something.
I mean, I took a little segment of it, and then at some points I had to extend it, and they could take your music inspires that, and they can ask you to play with it to suit the film.
Yeah,
you know,
possibly.
that's the thing. It doesn't have to be that you need to re-record everything necessarily.
No, you know what it is? It's just that the problem with music and making music is when you take it into a commercial space, and when you say to yourself, I want to make money out of it, you start to, depending on what space you're taking yourself into, you start to become beholden to other people's needs. So in other words, it's no longer about the music. That's the thing. And even film music is not really about the music, it's about the film. And in fact, the mark of a good film composer is that you don't notice the music. Yeah. So in a way that they're very skilled in creating music that supports the visuals, but doesn't take over the visuals. Again, I wouldn't be necessarily suitable for that because my music is very much centre stage. It's like, hey, listen to me, centre stage.
But as a listener of the music, it could be there. And I think what I'd like to put out into the universe for you, if I'm allowed to on this show,
by all means,
is that you need a director, a big director, to be listening to one of your albums.
So there's a big director out there who wants to make enlightening, heartfelt, maybe romantic, or those sorts of films. Check out my albums.
Absolutely, because to be honest, they may well listen to your albums, and a film may actually be inspired by it as well. That's the thing, it could work the other
now
way
that's
round.
interesting. In that way round, probably would work the best. So in other words, someone hears the music
so the
and
music
says,
feeds
yes,
the film.
it feeds the story.
Correct.
Yes.
Because it does. Your music has a story to it.
Or parallel. So in other words, at the same time that I'd be working on an album of a particular theme, someone else would be working on a film of the same theme, and we would find ourselves synchronized.
Nice.
That would be fantastic.
Beautiful.
Please, if you're out there, the universe or whatever, listening,
Whoever,
bring it on.
One more thing before we move on, because this is only one area of your creative.
I could go on about this for hours, but yes,
I know,
please,
and it's been amazing. I love talking to you about this because you get this light behind your eyes that's just awesome. You have your music's reached #1 in New York, hasn't it?
New York?
New Age, was it New York?
No, a few years back it was a particular album I'd done called Atlantis, which was voted #1 New Age album of, I think it was 2013 or 2012 or something like that.
It was in America?
No, it's just worldwide. It's just a worldwide sort of thing.
International? Yeah,
unfortunately it doesn't. It's very nice and all that, but it doesn't result in that many sales. In fact, this particular genre of music is probably experiencing its lowest point at the moment for the last, I don't know, 10 years or something, 15 years. I mean, in the 80s it was much...
aren't they? Right word, cyclical, it will come back.
I don't know, it's a very bizarre, really, in a way, that it happens like this. I can't really explain it because, most people who hear it, they really, eventually they get it. I mean, unfortunately, what works against it is that people are very conditioned to expect certain things from music. So they expect voice, for instance. They expect someone to sing. And often I'll put the CD on and they're listening. When's the voice coming in? It's like, well, there isn't any voice. Well, what am I meant to do with this? You listen to it and it takes you places. Oh, I'm not sure. Some people actually don't even like that. Some people are scared by it. They listen, oh no, I'm not sure about that. Because they need the focus of the voice.
So access is a different part of ourselves that some people don't want to
Right. Do. And so in a way, already you're then limiting a niche. It needs to be marketed in a certain way. Record companies never completely got the hang of it. It was very big in the States in the 80s, I think from about 81, or actually late 70s, because Vangelis was doing a lot of, and Chariots of Fire was 1981. And Chariots of Fire opened the whole thing up, the soundtrack. And all the orchestral and the strings and all of that. I mean, that was just like, wow. When I heard that, I just thought, man, this guy has got it. And it was total chance that him and David Putnam, and he knew the director, and it's a low budget film, and they didn't have any expectations about it at all. It was done, I think it was like 2 or 3 million the budget or something like that.
So that's what you need. That's what you need.
I suppose a similar scenario. And it's very interesting how Chariots of Fire was about the boldness of the human spirit. It was about overcoming adversity. It was about self-challenge, about self-transformation, and so the principles of the movie were very much aligned with, I suppose, the principles of Vangelis. Having read about him, he's very much into that sort of thing. And his father, Vangelis's father, had been an Olympic runner as well. So there was an interesting parallel between Chariots of Fire and, because Chariots of Fire was all about the runner. And it just exploded, and it opened up that possibility for soundtracks, but it didn't last. It was probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 years that people toyed with electronic soundtracks, and then it all went back to orchestral music. Done, dramatic
But it comes
drums
in rounds and everything. It just takes a great film or a great story.
I'm still
or
waiting.
a great
When I sit next to it here with a big long white flag beard, Ronit, I finally got to do the soundtrack. And I can't hear it too well now. But
Darling, I might not be the one sitting in this chair at that stage. Please make it sooner if you don't mind. So that rounds off your music career, kind of in summary. We'll have to come back in a few months' time and
do episode 2.
Yeah.
Can I have my own series?
You could talk for England. I think it might.
Clifford, hi, ladies and gentlemen, it's about Clifford White.
Yeah, we're going into the depths of my mind, and it could be quite interesting. Or not. I don't know. No, it's always interesting chatting to you because you've got an amazing depth of how you analyse and kind of observe as well as live in your life.
Well, you've got to sort of perform in life. You have to perform so many different roles, don't you? You have to wear so many different hats, especially now.
Totally. Well, speaking of different hats, let's move on to your next hat. Nice segue.
So
well
that
done.
hat off.
Thank you.
Right,
nicely done. We didn't even prepare that.
What hat do you want
I'm
now?
planned. Let me think. Let's move. You decide.
Not that. This.
Go on.
Creative Herts. Okay, so I have to admit that it's born out of the need to connect with other individuals who suffer CCD. So if you suffer CCD, get in touch with me.
Just again, remind everybody, CCD, compulsive creative disorder.
Very good, very good.
It's going to become a term. You're going to get all these psychologists and
I got
psychiatrists.
No, CCD, and if you suffer from it, get in touch. No, it is. It's a need to meet other people who connect. It's all about connecting. It's all about connecting. I spent so many years in my own space, in you could call it a fantasy world. It was a fantasy world of making music, but it was very isolatory. And at that time, when I was younger, it didn't bother me so much. I felt it was my art, it was very much, the thing I do as an artist. I have to sort of go into the zone and all that. But as the years roll on, and you discover that you're sharing this planet with lots of other human beings who you don't understand at all and you can't speak to, and, they speak to you and you think, what are you saying to me? You're talking about stocks and shares and mortgages. All this stuff was just completely out of my worldview. So gradually over the years, I've obviously become more social being. And now in the last sort of decade, I've really found the need to sort of connect with other individuals. So the Creative Herts idea is sort of born out of that. But there are other threads. Really the name of it was born because of the University of Hertfordshire, because back in 2004, 2005, University of Hertfordshire started a group, a social group, not a network, not a social media thing, because it was before then, but an actual physical social group.
Where everybody met.
And it was in Hatfield, and there was a nice bar, and people would meet, and they'd chat, and there was lots of different creative people. Then I caught the tail end of that, and sadly, I only got to go twice, I think, before it closed. Their funding was cut, so they had no more money to do it. So I caught the tail end of that, and I thought, this is just the sort of kind of structure that can bring people together. So I started my own network sites. This is before Facebook or LinkedIn. I was doing it on something called Ning. It was one of these platforms you could go to and create your own social network and all the groups and all that. It was great, and I had loads of members. It was really growing. Of course, Ning then, like many others, said, now you've got to pay for it. It's free for a while, but now that you've got lots of members, we want to see the money. And I was like, I'm not making any money. This is a pure social thing, and I'm not interested, so I had to shut it. So a few other bumps and things along the road, and then of course Facebook started to take off, and LinkedIn, which is terrific. So and in fact I didn't create either of those because the University of Hertfordshire had their Creative Herts Twitter and Facebook, and another guy, a PR guy who I know called Simon Valens, had done the LinkedIn for a different. His creative was slightly different. His was more sort of journalists, writers, that sort of creative. But
a particular industry
sort of niche, yeah.
And yours is more wide.
Wider.
This is about all creative.
Yes, all creative
avenues. Yeah.
Exactly. So I kind of commandeered all of those over time and brought them into a central theme, and was building it up. But doing another website, it's like, yeah, okay, but there's so many websites, you know, millions of websites, millions of directory websites. You know, people are getting sick of all these websites everywhere, and I get sick of it. I sit in front of the thing all day long, you know, I'm like, ugh. So I'm thinking, what can you do that's a bit different? And I'm thinking, and gradually, over the last year, really, I've been, what's the penny that's dropped is YouTube. You know, YouTube's a massive phenomenon, massive phenomenon.
Massive.
But it's really only truly being pursued by the Americans. The Americans are the ones that seem to be putting the effort in, producing really good shows and all of that. The British is like, you know, selfies and what do you call them? Vlog, you know, where they follow themselves around with a camera.
Vlog.
Yeah, vlog.
It's huge though.
It's
Vlogging
huge.
is
I mean, there are a few.
massive.
There are a few big British YouTube stars, but very few. Like you could probably count them on one hand or two hands. Or
I have to just segue there just for a quick second, just to express the magnitude of YouTube and the power, because my kids watch vloggers all the time. They prefer to actually watch YouTube now than they do telly.
Yeah.
And they've been watching a few different YouTubers, and I can't remember the name. And I don't even know if I'm even allowed to, but there's one of the vloggers that they watch and they follow has written a book.
Hank Green,
No.
brother, John Green.
No, he's called Pointless Blog, Elfie Days, I think it is. Elfie Days, and I hope that I've got the correct information. Elfie Days is Pointless Blog, and he's just written a book called, or published or launched a book called Pointless Book, and he's doing book signings. And we were meant to go, I was taking my daughter to Birmingham on Saturday to go and get a book signed by him, meet and greet book signing.
Right.
They've had to postpone. I think it's W.H. Smith's or somewhere that they're launching the book. They've had to postpone it because the one in London that happened on this weekend, there were so many thousands of people. People got injured fighting to have him sign their book. So they've postponed the one in Birmingham where I was schlepping to on the weekend. That is the power. This man's created his own name, his reputation. He's amazing, really entertaining, great stuff to watch. But the mobs, the crowds, thousands of people went to go and watch him.
Well, this is what happens.
To meet him, rather. So
he reaches a sort of
powerful.
an explosion point. You know, it goes up to a level where it builds, and all of a sudden it sort of takes off.
So you've taken your kind of social network idea and you've moved it now onto YouTube, which I think is very forward thinking.
Yeah. So I was just thinking, you know, what I'd like to do a show. As you know, last year I did a show for David Icke.
Yes.
Called Hidden Science, which was great, and we really enjoyed doing that. That was produced at David's studio that he had at the time in Wembley. And I just got the bug, you know, I got bitten by the show bug. Because you know what it's like? Being in an environment like this is very much like being in a recording studio. There's a kind of a buzz, but it's almost like got a sacred sort of atmosphere to it. It's like you've got to approach it very sort of carefully, you know. And I love that because it's very much like a studio. It's very much like a recording studio. It's like you're entering into the church of
sacred space.
The sacred space. And I got that by doing the show. And I thought, well, I've got to do another show. And so it seemed logical. Got Creative Herts, got another show. It's creative people. And
so you've got Hidden Science, Creative Herts, and you've obviously, we haven't spoken about 21st Century Studios, which is actually where we're filming today.
That's true, yes, 21st
so you've got
Century
your recording studio, you've got a sound studio.
Sort of, it's kind of...
If people need it, but,
but
this is
this is configurable, this space, so it can be... I mean, normally we're running training courses here, because that's my main business, it's training business. Getting very complicated, isn't it? Should we sort of take a break? Come back. No. Come back. Go and have a lie down, come back later.
No, but this is, you were talking about the creative, what's it,
The CCD.
CCD.
This is the CCD at work.
So you've got all these different...
Does this guy sleep, you know?
But these different projects are all things that have come, and this is almost what has been building towards Creative Herts, this show, which is an amazing outlet for creative people to find ideas, inspiration, how-to stuff,
to help motivate them,
motivation, connectivity, all the rest of it. This is what the show.
This is what the show's about.
Is about.
Yes.
And it's come from your own journey.
Yes.
And in a way, it's come full circle for you because you're sharing all of your...
Yes.
I mean, I'm hoping you're going to use your music for our music.
Well, you know, that's the plan.
Or have used our music.
For this, yeah, absolutely. It's also, you know, the other thing when you watch a lot of stuff on television and it's all very sort of hyped up, it's all very sort of, it's false, you know.
Yeah.
And you buy into it. It's like you suspend disbelief. You say, I'll buy into the false because it's fun, you know, let it see where it goes. But what you don't often see are people who are struggling. You know, you don't often speak to people who are like got a problem.
So you think you're the odd one out, don't you? You think everybody's got it easy.
Yes.
You know, they made it big, they've got an easy life,
Yes.
and then you don't realise that actually every one of those people have been through their own journey.
Well, and they hardly talk about it, you know.
Robin Williams is a classic example.
Classic example. I mean,
Who
what was his real story? You know, you go onto YouTube and you can watch hours and hours and hours of video about him, but I mean, I haven't actually done this, so I can't claim this is 100% true. Excuse me if it isn't. But the likelihood that you're actually going to see Robin Williams sitting there going, you know, I'm really depressed at the moment and I've had a really hard time.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if there was that footage somewhere, because he was quite open.
He was quite open. But okay,
but he
in
made
the majority,
jokes of it, and that's the case.
Okay.
We hide behind our creative.
But that's the thing. I want to reveal some of that. Let's get some of that honesty back into it. Well, not back into it. I don't know whether it's ever actually really been there for television. I mean, this is the thing. People love a good drama, a good tearjerker, don't they? You know, a good movie where you get to cry and you get let all those emotions out. People love that. But if it's reality, if you're seeing that for real, oh, no, it's not the done thing, and that's silly.
Well, I don't know though, Cliff, because you've got reality TV. Everybody is hugely. I mean, we've got some Big Brother chairs sitting in my
they're so abusive to each other. You see,
that
it's
is
all about
extreme, and also
it's all about abuse rather than about. Oh yes, you do have people helping each other out, and no, that's nice. I get that, and that's why reality TV is so successful.
No, but people like reality TV because of the drama. Yeah. They don't like it because of the reality of it. They like it because of the eccentricities and the craziness in a way. There's none. This what you're doing here is honest and with integrity and depth. That is I think not out there. I think.
Yeah, it's quite a rarity. I mean, certainly that nobody's done anything like this as a show.
What are your hopes for the show? What are your aspirations and hopes for us?
Well, I'd like to get a bit of cash in.
Where'd he go?
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, at the end of the day, all he wants to do is get some cash out.
Am I blushing? We both be like, oh, we didn't see that coming. No, good one, but it's true. We want to continue this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it for the money. I mean, if I was doing it for the money, I wouldn't be doing it because there's no money. No, I'm not doing it for the money, but you know, it'd be great if someone or someone's came forward to support it in some fashion. You know, this is not a fringe thing. It's not like we're talking about lots of weirdness. Okay, apart from me, I'm a bit weird, but generally the people we're going to have on the show are going to be talking about creativity, how to stay creative, how to stay positive in our world. I mean, our world is going through some tough times, as it always does, I suppose. And it's good for people to be able to see something that inspires them, that motivates them, makes them feel like they're not alone, and makes them feel like they can be supported, makes them feel like there's people out there, potentially round the corner from them, near to them, who they can link up with, and they can be mutually supportive to each other. And all of those things is why I'm doing it, really, but the cash wouldn't hurt.
Well, at the end of the day, the vision and the seed that was planted and the reason for us being here is pure, and it's about support.
Yeah.
Because we've both been, or you've definitely been in dark spaces and have had to pull your own self out of them, and you're trying to provide that inspiration for others so that they don't have to stay stuck for too long, and that they realise there are others going through what they've been through.
And the information as well, that yes, you're completely right about that, but also getting good, solid information, getting the right sort of advice is very difficult.
On where to go, how to do certain things. So there's the technical how to get your project out there, well, birthed and out there, and then also the motivation and inspiration that comes from it, which is, both of those avenues excite me, which is why I'm sitting here as well. But again, going back to the financial side of it, like with any art or anything, you want to be earning from the thing that you love to do.
Well, yes,
if you can, and for us to continue doing this, and for the message to be out there and to perpetuate the message and to grow and expand and to reach more people, we need some funding in order to continue it, to sustain it.
Yes, I mean, I'm happy to fund it and sustain it for as long as I can. My training business is my main line of business, and we teach lots of courses, by the way, 21st century.
21st century training?
Well, it's 21st Century New Media is the name of the company, but you want to go to www.21newmedia.com to see our training courses.
And you do training courses in computer stuff, but also
Yeah.
a lot of filmmaking,
It's a lot of filmy stuff, yeah. The main
script
thing,
writing, that kind of stuff.
yeah. So the main things are webby sort of stuff, graphics, web design, that sort of thing, HTML, WordPress. So I teach a couple of courses to WordPress and HTML. We do filmmaking, we do green screen, we do Final Cut, which is video editing for directors and people who want to use video, or Premiere. I mean, there's loads of courses we do, or loads of courses, about 22, 23 courses.
But also, you're quite organic in the way that you've grown. So some of your courses have come about because people have approached you. You've got a lot of contacts in the industry. You know a lot of directors.
Well, up to a point. I could use a few more. Especially ones that want to use my music for their next movie soundtrack.
Plug.
Did I mention that?
No. But why I mention it is that actually if anybody who's watching wanted a specific course, you would consider it if they came
if it's practical and possible to
and
do.
Obviously there needs to be more than one person. If a company wants their staff trained in a particular thing, then you would
up to a point. I mean, it's
tailor.
tricky to do because you've got to source the right sort of people and so on and so on.
But you also you train at a certain level. I mean, you've got a very high standard that you set.
Got a high standard, but it's for
courses.
beginners. This is not sort of highbrow. You haven't got to be in the industry first. This is ice-breaking courses. Get you going, basically. Get you started. It's like booting you up to do something. So that's all good.
Excellent. Is there? Are we having a giggle? Is there anything else that you would like to kind of mention or talk about? Because we've spoken about.
I'd really like another show. I'd like another hour. Can we arrange that sometime?
Of you? Do you know what? We could do one a week.
Agreed. The megalomania of it.
Do you know what though? I have to say, it's not only that. I know you. You're not. There is ego involved in everything that we do as creatives, but at the same time, you've got a lot to say because you've done a lot and you've experienced lots of different avenues of creativity. Your web, we haven't even touched on your web business. And I know that's kind of sitting there on the side at the moment, but you've built some phenomenal websites. Your knowledge, your technical knowledge and know-how is immense. And there are things that you go out there and learn really quickly. So you've got a really great mind for the technical side of things and production side of things as well. And your music we've spoken about, this we've spoken about too. There's lots of different aspects to you. And therefore each one of those in a way could be their own show. So I get where you're coming from, but your time, I'm afraid, is up. It has been incredible. I'm so pleased that, I'm sorry to the gentleman who we will have on in a future episode. I'm sorry that he didn't come.
I'm not.
For his sake.
I mean, I am sorry. Of course I'm sorry.
Sorry for him, but he'll be on. But do you know what? I'm delighted because...
It was your idea. You said, well, let's just go ahead and do an interview with him. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
but I'm not dressed for it.
Yeah, you did go and change your top, didn't you? I just have to say this. He ran out very fast and came back very quickly.
If you don't like pink, there's nothing I could do about it.
But the reason is because production team wear all black.
Yes.
So they blend into the
curtains. I was going to wear black.
background.
You wouldn't have just seen a head, a disembodied head.
Floating head. It would have been a bit weird. I would have looked at the peculiar one. But no, it's been a true honour to have you here. And I think that for anybody that's watching this, it gives a really deep insight into what we're about. No introduction to the show that I could ever give could explain it as beautifully as you've done.
Thank you.
And I would like to thank you from me and on behalf of all the creators rather out there. I'd like to say thank you for bringing this beautiful idea to life. And I think this is only the beginning. Lovely.
It's exciting.
Right, you've been watching Creative Herts, where we've had Clifford White, the mastermind behind Creative Herts. Don't stay away for too long. We've got loads more for you to watch, lots of episodes on their way and others to see on the channel as well. So looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care.